Well, at least I did something, I guess. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me talking about what I did last week, because this is weekly Navel-Gazing, and where we talk about the books I read last week, the books I plan to read this week, and the videos I made last week, the videos I plan to make this week, and, just have a bit of a chat, basically. So, what did I read last week? Well, I did read a couple of books. I did finish AI Snake Oil by Shreya Kapoor, I think, and Arvind Narayanan. I'm really bad with the names. I'm so sorry with that. Anyway, I did read that. It's good. It's not the best book on artificial intelligence because the two are a bit too hyped up about the possibilities of the technology. I'm going like, well, right now this isn't working, but we're sure it will work really soon, especially when they're talking about generative AI, which I think... I don't know if it holds up that much, but it does look at like some of the technology. It explains some of the technology really well, so, it is what it is. And then I did, of course, read Shadow Ticket by Thomas Pynchon, and I loved it, and it's really good. I want to read it again. I will read it again because, gotta learn that shit, right? Really enjoyed that one. Was a lot of fun, and gonna read something else by Pynchon, or reread something else by Pynchon relatively soon, I hope. And you all should read Thomas Pynchon, because, he's pretty good, is what I'm saying. And then I did read, Gilded Rage, Elon Musk and the Radicalization of Silicon Valley by Jacob Silverman, and that is an excellent book, and I can highly recommend it. Maybe I should make a video about it. We will see. It's a really good book. It looks at what happened, especially with Silicon Valley, venture capitalists, all of those kind of people around Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Joe Lansdale, Mark Andreessen, David Sachs, all of those people, and how they swung very hard right, and for what kind of reasons that may have been. And it looks at like the people that are funding these venture capitalists, because that money has to come from somewhere. Surprise! It's from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and those kind of places. And if you know anything about democracy, you may notice that that's not exactly what those countries are in favor of, right? So there might be something there. Anyway, really good book. It's going to make you very angry, but sometimes that is just what we have to do. So really good book. I enjoyed it. Or not enjoyed it, but I'm very glad it exists. I'm very glad I read it. Fun is certainly something else. Anyway, I did read that. And then I did, of course, read And Shittification by Cory Doctorow, which is another one of those books that will make you very angry. The audiobook is only out there on Libro FM because no DRM and everything, because Cory Doctorow does in fact try to practice what he preaches, and I appreciate that. Really good book. If you haven't read it, you should probably do that. Or you could just read a lot of like his blog on pluralistic.net. I have read a lot of that, so some of the things happening in the book I already knew about, but having it all sort of like condensed into one place, really good idea, and I did appreciate that. It also mentions techno-feudalism and Yanis Varoufakis, so that is really cool, which, love to see all these things kind of come together. So that's another book that I read, because it also came out this week. And now I'm currently reading The Devil in the Shape of the Woman, Witchcraft in Colonial New England by Carol F. Carlson, I think, because I'm interested in witchcraft and New England, and it's an academic book. It looks at, mostly the 17th century accusations of witchcraft, practice, and all of that kind of stuff. And I'll be done with it by the time this video goes up, because it's already, it's a relatively short book, and so forth. That's what I read last week. What about books I'm going to read this week, you may ask? Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, I want to read Power and Progress. I forgot the authors. It's another book on, progress mostly, and innovation, and how the results of innovation, how they are distributed amongst people, and how that leads to large sort of like wealth gaps and things like that. I'm going to read that next, I think. That's a really, just like a final sort of like academic book on those elements, which hopefully will be enough to then finally start talking about artificial intelligence, because that's kind of where this goes, right? So I'm going to read that. And there's a book I pre-ordered, and I wasn't aware, I completely forgot that I had pre-ordered, and it also came out last week. The audiobook came out. It's been around like as a printed book for like a long time, and that is, of course, A History of the African American People, as told by Strom Thurmond to Percival Everett and James Kincaid. And as you can can guess, it is written by Percival Everett and James Kincaid, and it sounds like fun, in like the probably very angry fun kind of way. And I'm going to read that relatively quickly, or listen to it relatively soon. That's certainly something I have on my list for this week. There is obviously other stuff that I might get to. I was thinking about maybe reading Hate Monger, which is a book on Stephen Miller, because, gotta learn shit about what's going on. But beyond that, I am currently somewhat lost for what to do next, what to read next. But, that's certainly enough. And if I should actually get to finally start recording the AI video, or start again recording the AI video, then probably I will also have to go back and do some rereading in some of these books to refresh my memory, make sure I get my facts correct and all of that. So that is probably some reading that will happen this week. Now, if you have suggestions of stuff I should definitely go and read, you can always put them down in the comments. Consider this your call to action for the video. I may have more of them. We will find out. So that's the books. And videos. I did make one on Shadow Ticket. I'm relatively happy with it. Talking about Thomas Pynchon is always a bit stressful for me, because with a book like that, it's very hard to talk about these books because there's so much going on. And on the one hand, I want to talk about it as someone who is not officially an expert in anything. Like, not that there are like many people I would, call experts on Thomas Pynchon. And obviously there are people who study the man's writings for a long time and so forth, but there's so much going on. It's kind of difficult to be an expert on that. So, but I tried to make a video where I try to explain sort of like things that stand out for me in Pynchon's writing in general. So hopefully it will help some people get into the book or understand the book or look out for specific things. That's partly the goal with that video. So that is the video I made. I made another video. Well, I recorded it twice now, and I'm still not happy with the results, so I'm going to re-record it again, and it's it's about how we talk about books. It's one of those meta kind of things. I'll try to get it re-recorded tomorrow, and hopefully at that point I will actually have it, figured out. We'll find out. So that's something that I re-recorded, that I recorded twice, but I'm still not really happy with the results. And I went on to Britain's live stream last night, and I, as always, had fun on Britain's live stream, so that is cool. Also, that's that. What about videos for this week? Well, I don't know. My goal is obviously to finish that video that I just mentioned, to actually get it up this week, and hopefully start recording the video for artificial intelligence stuff. That is the goal. We'll see how far along that I will get. I might make other videos if something else comes up. I still have some ideas about more like YouTube-ish, sort of like meta kind of topics that I think might be worth talking about. But for those, I need to have sort of like the structure in my head. That may happen this week. It may happen next week. Who knows? Certainly an option. And then there's the question, should I make videos on Gilded Rage or Enshittification? Like last year, I did make a video on Palo Alto by Malcolm Harris, and from time to time, I have made videos on non-fiction books, and the question is would you guys appreciate it? Would you guys enjoy me talking about these kind of non-fiction books? Because I've been thinking about that, right? And a lot of this stuff will end up as sources for that large artificial intelligence video. But maybe it might be interesting to some of you to at least pick some of those books that I've read, or I've sometimes even read multiple times by now, and make an individual video about just that book, so you know what to expect from it. If you want to read it yourself, maybe that is helpful, because obviously there's overlaps, but say last week's The Contrarian, the biography of Peter Thiel, for example, or Hubris Maximus, which is a biography of the last couple of years of Elon Musk's life, for example. Those books go into directions that I feel are necessary for the AI video, but they might also, there's a lot of stuff going on there that is more about current politics and stuff that is not going to end up in the AI video, so it might be worth talking about those things. I know. Let me know what you think about that, if you're interested in that, because I can totally see you going well, that's even further away from Malazan book content or whatever. Stop doing that shit. You can always tell me that, right? I might not listen to it, but I'm genuinely curious about that. So another call to action. Awesome, right? I'm getting so good at doing this YouTube thing. Speaking of calls to action, I'll link the poll to this year's holiday reading thing again down in the description. I have to do it in the description, not in like a pinned comment, because it links outside of YouTube, and you can't, do that in comments for YouTube reasons. Please vote for it. There is another week time for you to do that, and right now, there are a couple of votes in, but all of them are very close together. All 5 options are still very much on the table, so if you haven't voted yet, every vote does still count. Like the difference between like the currently leading book and the second leading book is 1 vote. So there is a lot of room for you to impact all of this. And right now there's like 15 votes or so, which is a bit depressing, I guess. When it comes, and obviously, I understand this on like a theoretical level, like on a rational level, like when we do YouTube things, you watch a YouTube video, but like for you to click on a link and then click on like another thing and go to like a different website, all of that is of course like extra, actions that you need to do, extra steps that you need to do. And even if, if 50 people watch this video, very few of you will actually do that. I on a rational level, I understand that. But on the other hand, like, I have supposedly 1,680 something subscribers here, like almost 1,700 subscribers, and not even 1% have clicked on, have voted in that poll. So what am I supposed to make with that? Like, possibly nobody cares. Possibly most of these subscribers are not actually watching my videos anyway, and are just basically old subscribers that have been around for like ever and have forgotten to unsubscribe. Who knows? It's just like something I've been thinking about over the last week, because I've been struggling a bit last week with, general health things. I was sick after, 2 weeks of festivals, and not a big surprise there, right? And with those kind of things, and the autumn really stepping in and everything, it's easy to sort of start spiraling and doing too much navel-gazing as it is, as it may be, and focusing too much on like, why am I doing this? Is this still okay? What am I doing? And at the same time, there's been like a lot of people on YouTube, on booktube, making like, hey, this is why people leave booktube and so forth content. So that sort of like questioning, why am I doing this and am I doing it wrong, is something that I periodically kind of stumble into, and last week was one of them. So seeing those numbers definitely had more of an impact than I usually try them. I try to ignore numbers, but obviously when I ask you guys for an opinion and when I have a poll, then suddenly I explicitly ask for numbers, right? And that's, something I was thinking about. So anyway, if you actually care about the holiday thing, now's your time. Now's your chance. You can actually go and vote and make me read one of those series. And there are, as I said, 5 cool series. There's Vlad Taltosh by Stephen Brust. There is Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. There is Anita Blake, Vampire Hunter by Laurel K. Hamilton. There's Left Behind by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins, and there is Weird Travel and Adventure Stories by German author Karl May, and we'll see which one will win. I know it's currently in the lead. I don't know if only I can see the results or if you actually also can see the results, because I'm not good with so obviously when I'm logged in on Patreon I can see the results, but I probably should like check it from the outside, see if everyone else can see the results as well or not. But yeah, right now everything is very close together, and you have the chance to impact this and make me read whatever you want, which is something that usually doesn't happen because I'm not good at asking for advice and things like that. Like another thing I should probably really get into is like in 2 weeks the new Malazan book comes out. Obviously, No Life Forsaken, I'm going to read it. I'll definitely have to reread The God Is Not Willing. The question is, like, should I also reread other Malazan books? Because, it's been a while since I read a Malazan book, and sometimes you forget things. At least I do, because I'm really bad at memory stuff. It's it's one of those problems. Like, if I'm, thinking about something, if I'm reading a book right now, I have, like, 1,000 ideas, but once I moved on to the next thing, my brain has just removes all of that, and I can retrieve some of those memories, obviously, but not enough maybe to actually appreciate what someone like Stephen Erickson, who's clearly relatively good at remembering or what he has said in previous books and what he's written. There will be connections, so I might miss all of them, which is maybe not so good. And seeing at where No Life Forsaken is set, probably reading reading the Malazan Book of the Fallen up to, not Toll the Hounds, but up to the Bone Hunters might probably be smart, because it's, from what I can tell, it's set in seven cities, right? So, yeah, that's something I need to figure out, and obviously figure out how much time there is, because, you may have noticed, but these Malazan books are not the shortest books I ever read. Yeah, maybe I'll do that, like, near the end of the week. I'll probably travel to visit family, which means train rides, and train rides are always good to listen to audiobooks, and could get like a couple of hours of one of those Malazan books down. So that is certainly something I'm planning on doing. Yeah, maybe that will also lead to making a couple of Malazan videos, because once I read those books again, I may have thoughts on stuff. We'll see. Because I'm aware of the fact that I haven't exactly made a lot of videos on more like fantasy books recently. I've talked about a couple of science fiction books in the past, obviously, but this year has been very sort of sparse when it came to like actual fantasy. I don't know whether that's because I'm not in the mood for reading fantasy. I mean, obviously I'm still currently always reading Discworld novels, but Discworld kind of feels Discworldy. And when it came to like new releases, there was like some horror stuff, like the Silva Morena Garcia one, and obviously the Chuck Tingle one. And there was a bit of science fiction with, Nadia Okorafor right at the beginning of the year, things like that. But there hasn't been like really like classic fantasy that I've been interested in. Obviously, I'm waiting for the new Black Company book, and when or if that there seems to be an audiobook coming out at some point. It's just not available for pre-order anywhere reasonably, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that will actually happen. Then of course I will read that and I will talk about it. And there is, of course, a new Witcher book that came out. I've read all of the previous Witcher books, and I don't really necessarily like them. I enjoyed some of the short stories, and the one standalone is fine. The main sort of like 5-book arc around Ciri is just like not for me. It's just not good. Not good as Robert. Like I really didn't like it. I really don't like some of the ways that Sapkowski is writing about stuff. It's not my thing. So I'm like, should I read this? Are people still interested in like a new Witcher book, or is this something that has basically slipped out of the cultural zeitgeist because the show has sort of like gone weird directions and the games have been out for a while? So is anyone still interested in like new Witcher stuff? And I haven't seen like a lot of videos pop up about it on booktube, or maybe that's just like my recommendations being completely fucked. Who knows? Certainly interesting to see that part, I think. So yeah, that's the great I don't know what's going on is basically this week, and hopefully actually getting that one video out that I've already done twice, and getting started again on the AI video will sort of like bring things back into like more productive shapes. Hopefully, with the sickness and everything gone, that part will also get better, and I'll be able to focus more and get shit done again, because it feels like weird that we're getting close to the end of the year, and I'm certainly starting to do the usual, like, have I actually achieved anything this year? How much have I failed with the things that I set out to do? And right now it's not looking good, and that's maybe not how you want to end the year. So maybe I'll find ways to actually get that productivity up and do some things that are meaningful, that are maybe interesting. And the other part with the AI video is like, now with that artificial intelligence bubble about to pop, or at least more and more people talking about like how it might be popping. So I was like, imagine me putting up that video on artificial intelligence, like recording the whole thing, and while I render it, suddenly OpenAI goes bankrupt or whatever, and everyone's like, so why are you putting up this video? So I'm feeling a certain level of pressure there with something like that. I would argue that a video on artificial intelligence might still be interesting no matter what happens with the current AI bubble, because the underlying problems will remain the same. But we'll see how all of that goes. And yeah, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you had a good week. I hope you read some cool books. If you've read the Thomas Pynchon one, let me know what you think about it. If you've read other cool books, let me know what you think about that. Tell me things in the comments is what I'm saying, right? And don't forget to vote. I'll make sure to put the link in there. Don't forget to do that so I can tell you which books we will read in winter well, next Monday. That's the goal here, right? So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, do the things, join Patreons or whatever if you feel like it. Most importantly, read good books, be cool people. I'll see you very soon, and until then, thanks and cheers.